I mean, it's the sum total of every expressive medium of all times made interactive. Like, how is that not? It's awesome.
Hello, I'm making a game about being part of a medieval community with procedurally generated quests, stories, and villages. In this video, I want to take you through my game design process and the tools I use to help me cultivate, curate, and enhance my creativity. It's not about how to design games or how to manage your game, but rather how to enhance your game design process by generating more ideas and better integrating those ideas with your game. The traditional way of designing a game is either by winging it, or by monotonously writing out the whole game design document before you start development. The way I design my game is more agile. I write part of the requirements, then develop, get feedback, and repeat. I also like this approach because it treats the game design process as an exploration rather than just requirements writing. It kind of makes it a two-way thing. And instead of keeping track of everything in one big Word or Google Doc, I use Notion. This makes it easy to organize, navigate, and read my notes, effective to write and cross-reference pages, powerful to keep track of cards and in general lists using the table feature. For example, I can create a list of epics and cards, and then I can filter, order, group by any of these in any combination. It's very generic, and ultimately, it's actually very fun to use and it makes me happy to write what is essentially documents. Of course, it's free, and it's constantly being updated, which literally means that your life gets easier, more effective, and more fun every month. I am not sponsored by Notion, but if you are Notion, please sponsor me. I add a few twists into the process in order to tackle the unique challenges of creating something that's never been done before, tackling a huge project as one human, and doing this without years and years of experience behind me. Here's how I do it. I keep most of my game design information in 3 places: the game design document for prompting important questions across the board of epics for holding specific information about how a certain feature should work, and a collection of pages detailing cross-epic interaction. There are a bunch of templates for game design documents. I went with one written by Mike Sellers, who led the design team on Sims 2, among other games. I chose it because I like the philosophy of using 3 categories to represent the topics at 3 descending abstraction layers. Of course, I imbued into Notion. In addition to this, I made a few alterations. I once heard a design philosophy that said that the first statement in the game design document should be, the game should provide a sensation or experience of. It becomes something that you always refer back to so you don't get lost in features, which I've personally found very helpful. And I also added a section for, why do you want to create this game? Is it simply to make money? Is it to prove that you can do it? Or is it to explore something, some topic, or some idea?
Making it was about, let me take my deepest flaws and vulnerabilities and put them in the game.
For those not familiar with Agile, an epic is a big body of work that can be broken down into several tasks. I tend to use epics for individual features, for example, adding crafting, inventory, or a day-night cycle. I use a table in Notion to represent that list of epics. This allows me to have a page per epic explaining how the feature works, for example, the decisions taken, ideas, notes, or inspirations. Organize the epics in various views, such as a board view for better imagining the timeline. Link tasks to epics, and even organize tasks by epic. Sometimes there are mechanics which involve multiple features and deserve a page to describe their interactions. In my case, this is for example the emergent behavior or stories in the game. This grand interaction of mechanics is sometimes asked about in the game design document, so instead of repeating the information there, I either simply link it, or use sync blocks to essentially keep a live copy of the relevant information. The second place I spend my time is in external resources. As I mentioned, since I'm not an expert on any of these topics, I make heavy use of various external resources to refine the mechanics in the game. Generally, this refinement is either figuring out how a mechanic should work through having played similar games or learning a real-life concept and deconstructing it, or figuring out how exactly to implement it. For example, the information to store or how it interacts with other systems. During the process of learning and refining, it is inevitable that you will get some amount of ideas, which takes me to my third place. Do you remember all your ideas from 1 month ago? Well, if not, let me introduce you to the idea inbox. To stop an idea from distracting me, and not forget it, I write it down and move on. You can use anything to keep track of your ideas: Notion, Google Keep Notes, Obsidian, etc. I prefer to use Notion, but sometimes I use Google Keep on mobile because it's just faster. Now, is there a way to encourage ideas? During the process of searching for information, you may come across articles related to what you're studying, but not entirely. I find these are important to read too for the discovery process, even if they don't directly contribute to what you're learning. For me, these extra resources are in the areas I'm interested in, which are also the areas the game is about. The Middle Ages, psychology, neuroscience, game design, marketing, etc. Along with articles, I have other sources such as podcasts, social media, books, videos, and games. Some places in particular are fantastic for inspiration and seeking out new ideas. A few I'd recommend is watching other people's devlogs, play similar games, post on Reddit, and read Reddit. And of course, other people also get ideas in different ways. For example, Jonathan Blow goes for walks or goes dancing. Let's say you want even more ideas, or you're a person that is not super creative. Is there some glimmer of hope for you? You may expect me to say no, but actually, there may be. Well, for a moment, let's take a dive into what creativity actually means. Creativity is a phenomenon whereby something new and valuable is formed. Generally, something new doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from two things joining to create something unique. However, I found out a way you can actually brute force this kind of process. I dub this brute force ideation, unsurprisingly. Let's say you make a mind map of various concepts in your game. In my case, actions, talking, personality, buildings, and flowers. So you start to draw out how one mechanic affects the next. But then, what if you make a random connection between two concepts? What if villagers could talk about buildings? What if a villager's personality affected which flowers they liked, or how they built buildings, their shape and size? Pretty interesting. And you could do this with any concepts to come up with random ideas, some which might not work, but a lot which are actually really cool. Pretty proud of this invention. Let me know what you think of this and whether this helps you generate ideas. Having people playtest your game is so important to get feedback and a great way to get extra motivation. For someone to fully understand how your game works and what you're trying to do is priceless when telling you what they think or giving you ideas in exactly the right direction.
So yeah, I guess like the role of one person in this kind of world is pretty interesting. But yeah, that's one route, right, you could possibly take. You have to do certain things. Then there could be other routes, like being like a, I don't know, master thief or something like that, right? Or something like that, like major roles, basically, right? That you can build towards, and that you'd have to do certain things and talk to certain people, right?
Now all the random ideas are in one place. What do you do with them? Well, to actually capitalize on these, I have a separate dedicated session of about an hour where I go through the ideas one by one, expanding on them, organizing them, or just discarding them. Sometimes an idea makes immediate sense, but sometimes I like to think through how exactly it fits in or whether it's even relevant. Now that you're ready to find resources and ideate, what if you come across too much stuff? Well, I have a solution for this too. There are two great tools I've used for keeping track of resources. Raindrop, which is great for organizing your bookmarks into different categories using cute icons, and tagging them for reading. More recently though, I've been using the Notion web clipper. It also scrapes the entire article you read, which is superb for easy highlighting without any other tools. And as I've previously mentioned, it has more powerful and easier organization, and is very useful and quick to reference with other parts of the game design details. But creativity is not all about resources or tools or processes, but also about the environment. Personally, I love going to a cafe for a couple of hours to do my design work. Nothing beats a good coffee, the idle sounds of chit-chat, and a place free of distractions in your home. But if your country restricts this due to COVID, finding a different time or place in your home can also be awesome. I hope these ideas and experiences have given you inspiration about how to improve your game design process. Of course, as you may all know, everyone's mind is different. Each person falls differently on the spectrum of curiosity, creativity, or how well you can remember things. Everyone's game is different. Some games don't require a lot of game design, but be careful not to fall into a trap of thinking that your game doesn't need game design at all. So, it's good to experiment with different things and see what works and what doesn't in your case. Speaking of, let me know what tools you use in the comments. I'd love to learn how you improve your game design process or what works best for you. Thanks for watching. For weekly updates, you can follow the subreddit or Twitter. If you want to support the game or channel, check out some of my art.